Hello, today we're going to be making roasted carrot, beet, and onion wedge salad. Roasting is an excellent way to prepare root vegetables because it caramelizes the sugar that's inside of them, making them naturally sweet. With beets, you can use all parts of the vegetable, from the root, which is the beet itself, to the greens. We're going to start off by preparing our beets to be roasted. Then we're going to prepare our carrots, and then lastly our onion. Then we'll roast them all together in the oven at 425 degrees. And then we'll nestle them on top of a beautiful green salad. Let's get started. You'll notice that I'm using a dark colored cutting board and I'm using a towel that I don't mind getting stained because beet juice stains things very, very easily. I'm gonna start off by cutting off the top here, and I'm gonna save all of my greens. You can use these greens exactly the way that you would use collard greens, or you would use kale or any other greens in any sautés. You use them the exact same way. I'm gonna just cut off my top there, whoop, and put these off to the side and save them in my crisper for later. Now you just have your beet. So you can prepare your beet two different ways. You can roast it whole just by cutting off this little end piece here, covering it in foil, and then you can roast it whole. It takes quite a bit longer than if you were to cut it up, but you get a lot of delicious flavor that way. And when you do it that way, you don't actually have to peel your beet. You can leave all of the skin intact, roast it, and then once it comes out and it cools down a little bit, you can just peel all of the skin right off. But we're not gonna be roasting our beet that way today. Today we're gonna be cutting it up, so we're gonna go ahead and peel our beet. So I've peeled all three of my beets, and you just wanna make sure to cut off these little end roots here. Next, like you would with any other vegetable that's round, you're going to cut it right through the middle so that you give yourself a flat surface to cut on. So we're gonna cut right through the middle of our beet. I'm gonna place it on the flat surface, and then we're gonna cut little wedges, like so. A little bit small. And then we're going to place them in a bowl. In the original recipe, it does not call for everything to be mixed inside of a bowl, but we're going to add all of our vegetables into the bowl, then add our seasonings into the bowl, and then mix it up. I find that doing it inside of a bowl rather than on the pan itself helps all of the ingredients be dispersed evenly. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting all of the beets into these beautiful little wedges, so that way they cook evenly and they cook thoroughly quickly. So we want to make sure that they're just small enough so that we get a good bite and that they cook quickly. And I'm going to finish up with the rest of these beets, and then we'll move on to the carrots. So you can choose to either peel or not peel your carrots. In this recipe, I'm going to peel them just to get rid of any extra dirt that might be on the outside of the carrots. Normally, I would peel my carrots over a bowl or over the trash can if I was gonna just throw them away. But just so that you can see how I'm peeling them, I'm gonna peel them right here. So I'm just making sure to keep my fingers out of the way as I move my peeler down my vegetable away from my body. I'm not peeling towards myself. I don't want to accidentally slip up and cut my hand because while peelers aren't knives, they are still very dangerous. So I'm just going to make sure to peel all of the weird bits off of my carrot and then turn it around to peel away from myself again. And then I like to utilize my peeler as a way to get rid of all of the bits of vegetables that maybe aren't as good and I wouldn't want to eat, but I don't want to throw away all of the vegetable. I want to preserve as much as possible, so I'll use my peeler to just peel away any of the not so good bits. All right, so I've already peeled the rest of my carrots. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting them. We want the carrots to be around the same size as the beets. So we're gonna do that by cutting our carrots first, cutting the length of the carrot. So about that size, it's about the length of the pieces of beet. And then I'm gonna cut that in half. And then for the larger pieces, I'm gonna cut those ones in half again. Cut that one in half. I think I'll actually go ahead and cut all of them in half. I think that'll be pretty. Now when you're roasting vegetables together and you're gonna roast them all at the same time, all for the same amount of time at the same temperature, you wanna make sure that they are about the same density as each other, or you don't mind one being a little bit more cooked than the other if they're different densities. If you were cooking broccoli and carrots together, the broccoli would cook a lot faster than the carrots would. So you wanna make sure that the things that you're cooking together when you're roasting are the same density, are gonna take about the same amount of time to cook. And if not, that you're able to pull out the things that are a little bit faster to cook. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other carrots, and then we will get started on our onions. Our onion, we're gonna prep it just like we would any other onion, any other time. We're going to cut it right through the middle from root to stem. We're gonna lay it flat. We're gonna cut off this little stem bit here. We're going to peel our onion. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other half. Cut off the root, the stem. I'm going to peel the onion. And then instead of cutting in the way that we normally would, I'm going to cut off the root. And then I'm gonna cut it this way in about 3 sections. And that's gonna give us pieces that are about the same size as the beets and the carrots. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna separate them from each other. And then after I separate them, I'm going to add them to our bowl that has the beets and the carrots. All right, and then these little pieces, I'm actually not gonna try too hard to separate them, so that way they can all cook at about the same time. All right, so I have my bowl with my beets and my carrots. I'm adding my onions. And next I'm gonna add all of my seasoning. So I'm gonna start off with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And that's gonna keep everything from burning and making sure that it caramelizes instead of burns. Next we're gonna add our oregano, our salt, and some black pepper. Even though it's not technically listed in the recipe, I like to add a little bit of black pepper to my roasted vegetables. I'm gonna add a couple of shakes of black pepper. All right, and I'm gonna give everything a good stir so that all the herbs plus the salt and the oil are evenly dispersed amongst all of the vegetables. And that's why we do this in the bowl rather than on the pan itself. So I feel like places when you do it on the pan, there are parts of the vegetables that really don't get a lot of the olive oil or the salt or the pepper. So I'm just gonna keep mixing until they all look evenly coated. Should be about another second or so. Ooh, that has quite a bit of oregano. Beautiful. All right. And before I got started prepping all of my vegetables, I lined my pan with foil so that way nothing sticks. And also our beets don't stain our pan if it was a lighter pan. I'm gonna dump all of our vegetables directly on the pan. Spread them out into one even layer. We don't want a big pile in the middle where not everything gets cooked. We want all of this to be one even layer. And then we're gonna place this in the oven. Is there anything in there? We're gonna place this in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then in 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to pull it out. We're gonna give it a stir so that we're not getting anything stuck to the bottom. And then we're gonna put it back in for another 10 to 15 minutes until it's fully cooked and golden and delicious. All right, I will see you soon. So our vegetables have been in the oven for about 15 minutes. We're gonna give them a look, we're gonna stir them, and then put them back in. Oh, look how beautiful they look. You can see they're already caramelizing beautifully, releasing a lot of liquid, especially the beets. We're gonna give them a good stir. And then I actually like to turn the whole pan around in the oven so that the back of the pan doesn't burn. I think these could use probably another 15 minutes. I'll check on these in 15. And here is our finished roasted vegetables. I'm gonna let them cool down a little bit more before I put them on top of our lettuce so that way they don't wilt the lettuce. And then I'm probably gonna drizzle them with a little bit of our red wine vinaigrette from level 1 of Simple Cooking with Heart. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to next week.